All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Riska. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Sarowski?
Here.
Mrs. Koski?
Present.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Mr. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanez?
Here.
Mrs. Yarko?
Present.
Thank you, Council. We need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Let's have Mrs. Koski.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
Never get the timing right.
move to approve the agenda.
Support.
Mr.
Been
Mayor,
moved and supported, Mr. Yanez.
sorry. I'd like to pull consent agenda item E and make it consideration item 9B.
Okay, consent item 8E will become 9B. Is there any other discussion on this? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. First item on our agenda is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me begin this evening by introducing a special guest that's with us, and that is our state senator, Michael Weber, and he wanted the chance to address the city council and the audience to talk about some legislative matters.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager and City Council. My name is Michael Weber. I serve as the State Senator for the western part of Sterling Heights. And, you know, my background is Rochester Hills City Council, so I came from a City Council background. So I try to do a quick update a few times a year, you know, things that are pertinent to city items. And there hasn't been a tremendous amount from June on, but I did want to highlight a couple things or just kind of update you on a couple things. So we did pass the budget in June, and that did include a 13.6% increase in statutory revenue sharing. We did try to put into the budget the revenue sharing trust fund piece, and we're still very much working on that, as our Michigan Municipal League folks know. And then also in there is a trust fund as it relates to public safety. And so we are still in the process of looking at the statutory changes that need to happen on that, especially at the Senate side. But that is actually in the budget, which began today, October 1st. In terms of Sterling Heights as well, you know that there was an appropriation for a police command vehicle in the budget. And so I know, working with, I guess, our Sterling Heights delegation of legislators in the House and the Senate, we were able to get that into the budget, which is helpful. In terms of roads, you know, $36.2 million increase for cities and villages per the Act 51 formula. I will continue to point out, because of some of the bonding, we were using some of the bond money to pay, obviously, off the bonds, and so we had to pull from general fund to make sure we had enough money for the federal match, and so we were able to do that in that budget. Legislatively, I talked about the trust fund. We're still working on that. I talked to John Lamacchia a decent amount about that, and between that and the discussion about the public safety trust fund, I think you'll see hopefully some action, some movement on that between now and December 31st. Still pushing on creating a state fund as it relates to noise pollution mitigation. Senate Bill 643 is my bill, and that would create a fund within MDOT. It's patterned off of the state of Minnesota, and we would have put money into it, and then it would be a grant process for areas of the highway that didn't fit the federal requirement, you know, through the city councils, through the counties, they could apply for some of these grants for that. One other item legislatively, and I want to make mention of a visit that I had today. to your Velocity Center. But I'm sure a lot of your residents and constituents have been talking about, and certainly have been talking to us about the potential phase out of the tip credit for restaurant workers. There's been a lot of discussion in Lansing over the last few weeks about that and what that may potentially do for our restaurants as it's phased in through between 2025 and 2029. It is, projected that 1 in 5 restaurants could potentially close their doors, and potentially 50,000 employees because of that. And that's based off of where it's happened in some of these other municipalities and states. So it's something that I'm hoping we have until February 21st of next year to try to get some sort of bipartisan solution to that. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do so. In terms of the Velocity Center, I ended up having a meeting there today, and did not know much about it before I went. And I think it's great that the city has that facility, and particularly as I co-chair our Aerospace and Defense Center, to have some of the startups there, I think is really a great process. And the dollars that have been put into the building, it's an impressive building. So learned something new today about Sterling Heights that I was not aware of, and so that was great. Lastly, because I know you have a busy agenda, for residents here and at home, for more information or to sign up for our monthly e-news, visit senatormichaelweber.com or call our office at 517-373-0994. And I can take any questions if you guys have any.
Okay, thank you, Senator Weber. Council, anybody have any questions for Senator? All right. Looks like we're all set. All right. Thank you, Senator Weber. Appreciate the update, as always.
And thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Senator Weber. And as I've said before, we really appreciate the collaboration with our legislative team. We work with them very closely on a lot of different issues. One that Senator Weber did not mention that is going through the state legislature as we speak and will likely be brought up in lame duck is the Ground Emergency Medical Transport Initiative. Essentially, that is a federal program. The state of Michigan doesn't participate in it, but they soon will be, thanks to a coalition that was started by our fire chief right here in Sterling Heights. And that statewide coalition has had an impact. The state legislature has approved $500,000 to start up this program through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And what this will mean for the Sterling Heights Fire Department, once it's fully implemented, is almost $1.6 million more a year to fund our transport system, which is subsidizing some of our Medicare and Medicaid runs. So the federal program helps fill that void. So it's a really significant program. And again, Senator Weber and our other state legislators have worked really hard to create this very complicated program in the state of Michigan, of which Sterling Heights will undoubtedly be a significant beneficiary. Mayor, continuing on, you may recall that a few meetings ago, the City Council passed a resolution encouraging SMART, that is our bus transportation program throughout the region here. And of course, the city of Sterling Heights participates in that program, and our residents and businesses through the SMART millage. But we talked about the need to improve our bus stops in Sterling Heights. Some of them have been improved along Van Dyke, a couple on 15 Mile, but we have 200 stops, and we have about 50 that really need to be upgraded as soon as possible. And thanks to the resolution that was passed by the mayor and the city council, we've had subsequent meetings with SMART, and they've agreed with the pilot program that we have put forth. And so we're proceeding with them to upgrade a number of our stops in the city. And we hope that over the next year, the community will see that, and certainly individuals using the system will appreciate additional bus shelters, bike racks, trash receptacles, and so on. In some cases, riders have to stand in a puddle of mud without shelter in inclement weather, waiting for a bus, and that's not acceptable. We can do better, and I appreciate the mayor and city council encouraging SMART to take this action. Now, in addition to that action, we have a long-standing partnership with SMART. We've been partnering with them for decades on our paratransit system program and our other local transportation programs run out of our Parks and Recreation Department. So we wanted to take a few minutes this evening to talk about that program. Kristen Briggs, our Superintendent of Recreation, will be leading us through that discussion.
Good evening, Mayor Taylor, City Council, Mr. Vanderpool, and residents. I'm excited to be here tonight to talk about and update one of our great services coordinated through our Parks and Recreation Department. The City of Sterling Heights has had a long-standing partnership with SMART that allows us to keep our residents moving, maintaining independence, and engaged in our community. The minibus service runs Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3:30. We also provide transportation after 4 to some events and different locations throughout the county. To qualify, riders must be a resident over the age of 55 who is unable to drive or over 18 with a qualifying disability. Rides must be within city limits unless they are for medical appointments, which we can go up to 5 miles beyond our borders. Appointments for transportation can be made up to 14 days in advance and no less than 24-hour business hours. Now, this time change frame of times that you could make appointments changed in January of 2024 so that we were better aligned with requirements of SMART. Some of our riders were not too happy about this change, but we've actually seen some real positive outcomes, like decreased no-shows, less cancellations, and we're having to decline ride requests less frequently. Appointments are first come, first serve, but we do our best to prioritize medical appointments. In fiscal year 23-24, we had over 13,400 rides that we gave. We use our fleet for additional events and programming beyond normal bus service to help keep our residents engaged in our community and the Tri-County area. We transport to different parks and recreation programs like adaptive recreation camp trips, teen night out, Dodge Park Farmers Market, walking club, and 50-plus day trips, just to name a few. We work with Shaner Towers to provide weekly shopping appointments for their residents, with other city departments like our library to provide transportation to their programming and some of their outings. Rides to city council meetings ensure that all residents can still have a voice and be a part of their city government. Rides are also given to Warren Community Center so that individuals that cannot drive may take advantage of our partnership, which allows our residents the opportunity to use their pool and pay Warren resident pricing. We work with Smart Connector and ADA service coordinators to make sure our residents can get the services they are entitled to. For over a decade, SMART and Sterling Heights Minibus Service have worked together to transport our residents that attend Macomb Academy to and from school each day. Since February of 2023, SMART staff have been using the Senior Center once a month to do ADA service assessments. Previously, those needing to be assessed had to travel all the way down to downtown Detroit to have that done. We partner with other agencies. For instance, we provided transportation just last month to the Macomb County Senior Expo that the Office of Senior Services put on. We also work with other municipalities to pool resources and help with large events, like Sterling Fest. For 2024, we utilize loaner vehicles from 4 other communities, along with 4 40-foot fixed route buses directly from SMART to help make sure we are able to keep festival goers moving to and from the event. We provided over 19,000 rides in 36 hours of shuttle service. That is up from 4,000 from the year previous. Our fleet of 10 vehicles varies in size to accommodate both small trips and large groups of people. In the last year, we've added 2 that we finally referred to our 12-2s, which can seat up to 4 wheelchairs, helping us move groups that have multiple mobility devices and allow us to more efficiently use our resources. Additionally, we've been approved and ordered a third 28-passenger vehicle, which we anticipate arrival sometime in 2026. We have a great team, including our drivers, program assistants, and Christine McCollum, who is our management assistant. She arrived the summer of 2023. Her first day was the opening day of Sterling Fest. She jumped in with both feet and haven't looked back since.
She didn't run.
Yes, she was smart, she would have, right? Pre-pandemic, I'm sorry. The minibus service is ever-changing, but the pandemic really brought to light some areas where we could enhance our services. So pre-pandemic, we were offering shopping 1 day a week and appointments on very limited days. Currently, riders may schedule shopping and appointments on any day that we provide service. Realizing isolation continues to be a health crisis for our senior population, we've also added additional get-together days at the senior center where we bring riders in to gather with others to encourage socialization. Safety has always been top priority, and we continue to look for ways to enhance our procedures. We now require mobility device evaluations on all riders who use assisted devices, making sure we are consistently securing them in the proper manner no matter which driver shows up for service each day. We educate our riders, encourage them to know what the safest way is to ride. For instance, that backing wheelchairs onto the lift is recommended. Also, many of our riders are unaware that their mobility device is not meant to be a seat in a moving vehicle, and manufacturers encourage riders to transfer when riding. Having this knowledge not only allows them to make safer choices while riding in our vehicles, but hopefully it also resonates when they use other transportation services. Our drivers are trained and pass testing prior to driving solar with any of the riders. And then new this year, all of our drivers had to pass and have been certified in Q-Strength's Securement 101 and 102 training programs. We've also added dedicated ride request email to increase accessibility and flexibility for our users. Allowing email requests have helped with several service speed bumps that we have faced, including those that might have memory issues, and then we often have riders where language barriers are present, and being able to email helps that. We're continually looking for ways to increase our efficiencies. In the last year, we have streamlined rider management using the Parks and Recreation software. We now have our program assistants handling all the calls for rider appointment requests, which frees up our management assistant to help with other tasks like making sure the drivers are trained properly and reports are completed in a timely manner. We're working with SMART to look at options for a more energy efficient fleet using federal grant funds. Pooling resources and partnering with others like SMART has been one of our biggest efficiencies. One way to streamline service would be to implement scheduling software and in-vehicle technology. We, Sterling Heights, are one of 4 agencies that has been picked to piggyback off SMART's new software. And over the last 18 months, we have been working closely with them and the software provider to create a new system that would offer the ability to move more people by continuously optimizing routes, working around traffic and last-minute scheduling changes. It would allow us to have wait lists, so if cancellations happen and the trip fits, we would be able to fit them in. Eventually, we would have the capability to work with surrounding communities and agencies to move residents beyond our current borders. For example, if a veteran needed to have a medical testing downtown at the VA hospital, we would be able to schedule with SMART and other agencies to make that trip happen, which we currently cannot do. It would also allow us to easily share important information about our riders to our drivers that would help enhance the rider's experience. Unfortunately, shortly after SMART had implemented the new system, they decided to part ways with the software company since they weren't really providing what they needed. We are currently working with SMART on next steps, and Christine and I have been meeting with other software companies to find out options that are available for us beyond our current Excel sheet operations. In closing, I want to thank you all for your support of our minibus service and commitment to our residents and their ability to maintain their independence, continue to be engaged in our wonderful community, and to age well. Thank you for this opportunity, your time and attention, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, thank you, Ms. Briggs. Council, any questions? We appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vanderpool.
And Mayor, just in closing on that topic, I also want to here again recognize the mayor and city council for approving the purchases of some of our newer buses. The bus fleet is probably in the best shape it's ever been in, and that's because we have received the funding allocations we need from the mayor and the council, and also SMART. And Mayor, it goes without saying, I think you all know this, that we have award-winning departments. Our police department's fully accredited. You hear all the time the good work they're doing. We're one of the safest cities in the country. You heard earlier about the good work going on in the fire department. We have a best-in-class fire department working on cutting-edge initiatives and technology. Our city's financially stable because of the good work of our finance team, and our clerk's office is renowned throughout the state, and all of our departments, frankly. And that's in large part because of really good leadership. Our city clerk is the president of the state's clerk association. I just found out today we have good news to report that our Parks and Recreation Director, Kyle Langlois, has been appointed president-elect of the Michigan Parks and Recreation Association, here again representing the city on a statewide stage. We also have an award-winning library and an award-winning library director with us this evening, Tammy Turgeon. And you may recall Tammy Turgeon served as the director of both the Suburban Library Cooperative and the director of our library for, oh gosh, a long time, at least 10 years, oh my gosh. And it just ended 2 years ago. We were the only city in the state of Michigan where the state signed off on this arrangement and allowed the city to do this because they trusted not only the city, but our library director. So Tammy Turgeon this evening wants to talk some about Library Appreciation Month.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, members of City Council, Mr. Vanderpool, and residents. The Michigan Library Association annually designates the month of October as a statewide observance to celebrate the contributions of Michigan's public, school, academic, tribal, cooperative, and special libraries. Hundreds of libraries and millions of library supporters across Michigan are celebrating Michigan Library Appreciation Month this October. Our Sterling Heights Public Library's mission is encouraging innovative living through literacy, discovery, and community, with a vision of an engaged community where all can discover, learn, and grow. The Sterling Heights Public Library staff are a key part of supporting our mission and vision. They are dedicated advocates for literacy, education, and civic engagement, and they work tirelessly to connect our patrons with the resources they need to succeed. I receive positive comment cards from our residents frequently regarding the service that our staff provides. Last month, a patron asked a staff member if we had special training because every one of the staff members he encountered were professional, polite, and very polished in the way they presented themselves. He also let the staff member know that he appreciated us. This is the Sterling Heights Public Library that I am so proud of. The Sterling Heights Public Library plays a vital role in fostering education, lifelong learning, and literacy for people of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities. Library visits are up 10%, with almost 180,000 patrons visiting this past year. We provide a welcoming and inclusive environment, inviting everyone to access the variety of resources we have, including books, DVDs, digital media, educational programs, and technology. The library's programming center, conference room, and 5 study rooms were used almost 4,000 times last year for studying, community group meetings, and library programs. This is an increase of 56% over the previous year. I'd also like to thank our library board members, friends of the library board members, and volunteers, some of who are here tonight. Raise your hands. Yay. I want to thank them for all they do to make the Sterling Heights Public Library the amazing place that it is. In fact, the Friends of the Library provide funding for all of the library's programs. We were able to increase the number of programs last year by 25%, with 789 programs held, and attendance at programs was up 45%. We couldn't do it without them. During Michigan Library Appreciation Month, I encourage everyone to visit the Sterling Heights Public Library in person or through our website at www.shpl.net. We're open 7 days a week during the school year, so stop by, grab a book, attend a program, meet up with a friend, play a game of chess, create something in our makerspace, and enjoy everything that your Sterling Heights Public Library has to offer. Thank you so much.
And Mayor, lastly, on my report this evening, I'm requesting the City Council convene a closed session pursuant to Section 8E and 8H of the Open Meetings Act to discuss a confidential written legal opinion and to discuss trial or settlement strategy in connection with U.S. District Court Case Number 223 CV 11341. And Mayor, that concludes my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. We have two presentations tonight. First presentation is a swearing-in ceremony for 7 new Sterling Heights firefighters. We have a presentation to kick us off from our Fire Chief, Kevin Edmond. Chief Edmond.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Kupski. Tonight I'm here before you to administer the oath of office of our new firefighters. And I want to briefly introduce each one of our members. Nicholas Armstrong, Andrew Benninger, Carson Cole, Jeff Crotchy, Owen Weinberger, Daniel Wolzak, and Gabe Zarb. I'm going to say a few words about each one of them as they come up, and then once we're all up there, I'm going to administer their oath.
Okay.
Nicholas, he attended Plymouth High School and Schoolcraft for his paramedic education. He worked for Woodhaven Fire Department and Wyandotte Fire Department prior to working at Sterling Heights. Andrew Benninger, he attended Clark High School and Oakland Community College for his paramedic education. He worked with Deer Lake Athletic Club as a counselor and also worked with his father's business doing interior and exterior repairs before working at Sterling Heights. Carson, he attended Romeo High School, Oakland Community College for his paramedic education, and he worked briefly for Bruce Township Fire Department prior to Sterling Heights. Jeff, he graduated from Grosse Pointe High School, attended the Great Lakes EMS Academy, and he worked for MedStar Ambulance prior to Sterling Heights. He is following in his father's footsteps as a firefighter. Owen graduated from Pinckney High School. He's attending Dorsey and is currently attending Ascension Grayson EMS program. He's completing his clinical requirements because we hire some people that aren't paramedics yet. And he is due to complete his program in December. He previously worked for the Hamburg Township Fire Department, and he's also following in his father's footsteps. Daniel, from Las Cruces High School, he graduated from La Cruz High School and attended Macomb Community College for paramedic school. He worked at MedStar prior to working for Sterling Heights. And these are our new 7 members of the fire department. If you guys will turn and face me. Oh, I forgot Gabe. I'm sorry. I am so sorry, Gabe. I did not cross. Gabe, the star, graduated from Anchor Bay High School. He attended Macomb Community College for his paramedic school, and he worked at Tri-Hospital EMS prior to Sterling Heights. And I am so sorry, Gabe. The pages got stuck together. All right, if you all turn this way so I could administer your oath. Everybody raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Michigan. The Sterling Heights City Charter. that I will comply with the rules and regulations of the Sterling Heights Fire Department. And will discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Start with the end.
I'll just say it on behalf of all of us new people. We'd like to thank the council, the city manager and the mayor for our opportunity to serve the residents of Sterling Heights as fire and EMS.
Thank you.
I also want to thank the city council and the people of Sterling Heights, as well as the fire chief, for having us here today. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank the city council, the residents, the city manager, and the mayor for trusting us with the residents to take care of them.
I'm sure you'll hear this a lot right now, but I would also like to thank the mayor, the city manager, all the councilmen, and all the residents of Sterling Heights for giving us the opportunity to protect and serve.
You know, we don't hear it as much as you would think, so you gotta keep it as much as you want.
Thank you again, guys, for my first job in the fire service, and I'm excited to get this opportunity started and continue to learn and improve. Thank you, guys.
I just wanted to say thank you to the council, Sterling Heights, and fire chief, and everybody here. Thank you for having us, and I look forward to serving and working with everybody here.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to be here and a nice long career at Sterling Heights. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes the swearing-in ceremony. And real quickly, October 13th is open house at station number 4, right outside Baumgarten Park. So I look forward to meeting all the residents there.
All right, thank you, Chief. Council, I'll open it up. Any comments for our new firefighters?
I'll go first.
Mr. Yanez.
Thank you. Like you guys, I don't have a lot to say. The same thing I say every time we have one of these classes come through. But as a retired Sterling Heights firefighter, I will tell you it's a great career. This is a great city to work for, a great employer. It will be over before you know it. The citizens will treat you great here. You're very lucky you landed here. And so I welcome you all. I hope you had the same great experience that I had. Maybe someday you'll be sitting up here. And I'm sure you'll learn a lot. So I also say it's a great job, don't screw it up. So I'll leave you with that. It is a great job, don't screw it up. One word of advice, if you're going to cook a bad meal, wait towards the end of your career because you're never going to hear the end of it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, firefighter Yanez and Councilman Yanez. Council, anyone else?
Mayor
Mrs.
Taylor?
Schmidt.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of you. I'm sure the chief did not give you the heads up that you were going to be speaking tonight. And I know that you all wanted to thank your families that are here as well. We thank them for giving us the opportunity to have your family working for us, for our family, which is our community. We are a family here in Sterling Heights, and we wish you well. We give you the tools to do the best job you can do. We know you will, and stay safe.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Mrs. Sarowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. To echo Mrs. Schmidt's, a lot of her words, but welcome to Sterling Heights. It is the best community you could be in. It is a great community to start your career and to continue your career. We will keep you as long as you want to be here, as long as you don't screw it up, as Mr. Yanez says. So, but we're very grateful to have you. Parents, Yes, thank you for giving us and loaning us your children. I know that even though they're young adult men, they're still your kids. And it's a great career, it's a great field that they're in, but it's still dangerous, and we understand that. So we applaud them for being brave and giving up their time and their lives to us. As Ms. Schmidt said, we give you the tools, and we will give you the best that we can give you. We will always make sure you're well-trained, you have the best equipment, you have the best leadership, and so thank you for being here. A nurse myself, as your first responders, and I've been a home care nurse when I've had you guys, I've called you guys to come take care of my patients in the Sterling Heights residences, and so I've seen how well you do and how well our people do, and I'm just grateful for all of you, so thank you for being here.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Sarowski. Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to echo my colleagues. Thank you all for deciding to embark on a public service career. It's going to be one of the best things you ever do and also one of the worst, because you get to serve the people of this great city every day. And it's going to be one of the most rewarding experiences of your life, but it's going to require some sleepless nights, some long days, and a willingness to really put up with it, because it's hard. Let's be honest. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your families are all here. I assume you all came for public comment. But they are so very proud of you because we're very proud of you. You're going to be great firefighters. It's because you're going to protect the city of Sterling Heights, which has the best fire department in the state. So welcome, good luck, and stay safe. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Mrs. Koski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome to Sterling Heights. Thank you for choosing Sterling Heights. You'll find that this is the very best fire department in the whole world. And you will, excuse me, you will have the opportunity to further your education. Great training is done here. So we believe in keeping you safe, giving you the proper equipment that you need to keep yourself safe and keep us safe. So welcome to our family, and I know you're going to enjoy working here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Koski. Mrs. Zarko.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. First of all, welcome to the Sterling Heights family. But for us, it doesn't go unnoticed that you are all hot commodities right now because in this particular job market, and we're grateful that you chose Sterling Heights to either begin or continue your career. Just remember that we are all here to help you in whatever way we can, so don't hesitate to ask. So good luck, stay safe, and once again, we're here to help you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zarko. And yeah, just to be the seventh in my group to say thank you. Thank you. As Mrs. Zarko was saying, we know that it's a very competitive job market, and public service is certainly not something that everybody goes into, and especially a job like this where you know it's dangerous. You know that you don't know what you're going to be walking into any day that you get on that rig and go on a call. And it takes a special type of person, I think, to sign up for that. So you're here for a reason. You have that drive. You have that passion. And I'm just grateful that you're putting it to use in service of the city of Sterling Heights. So on behalf of 134,000 residents, we thank you for what you're doing. We have had a long reputation as one of the premier fire departments in the state of Michigan. And when I started this job nearly 15 years ago, I don't know, Henry, how many firefighters are left from 15 years ago, would you say?
Count them on one hand.
Yeah, you count them on one hand. But the reputation hasn't changed over that time. And it didn't, you can go 15 years before that, and it didn't change either. So it's on your shoulders now. We expect a lot of you, but you wouldn't be getting this job if we didn't think you were up to it. So thank you guys from the bottom of our heart. Stay safe. Good luck. Godspeed. Thank you to your families for being here and supporting these young men. They're going to continue to need your support. What we always seem to see is that a lot of our new firefighters either had their parents or grandparents, uncles, aunts, other family members, either serving in the military or police or fire. So this is like a family job, I know, for a lot of firefighters. You're going to have new brothers and sisters in our department. Keep each other safe. And family members, look out for them. Give them support when they need it. because they're doing a hell of an important job, and we really appreciate it. So one more big round of applause for these 7 new firefighters. All right, well, we have some beautification awards. We've got a very exciting agenda tonight, gentlemen. You're more than welcome to stay, but it will not offend us in the least bit if you leave right now, go take some pictures, celebrate with your family and friends, all right? Why don't we take about a 3-minute recess, and then we'll come back for the beautification award. So we'll stand at recess for 3 minutes. All right, calling this meeting back to order. So we will move on to the next presentation on our agenda tonight, which is the 2024 Beautification Awards. And as always, we have a presentation from the chairperson of our Beautification Commission, Mr. Gary Isom. Mr. Isom.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, City Council, Mr. Mark Vanderbilt. Good evening. My name is Gary Isom. I'm the chairperson for the Sterling Heights Beautification Commission. And tonight it gives me great pleasure to present our 2024 Beautification Awards. The Sterling Heights Beautification Commission's mission is to encourage all city residents, property owners to preserve and enhance the beauty of public and private property. One of the ways we do that is through our annual awards ceremony, where we honor those who go above and beyond in beautifying their Sterling Heights properties. Tonight, we carry on that tradition here before this body. We thank you for welcoming this presentation as we showcase our residents and business leaders' dedication to making Sterling Heights a more beautiful place to live, work, and play. For the past 5 months, the Beautification Commission's welcomed nominations from citizens who wish to recognize the Sterling Heights property for their outstanding beauty resulting from the planting of annuals and perennials. The Commission reviewed photographs taken of more than 40 nominated homes, businesses, and places of worship. Commissioners judged nominations and selected a best of the best from each category that had the wow factor when seen from the curb. Commissioners selected winners based on overall beauty, aesthetics, and artistic use of color. Each nomination will be presented in the categories of single-family residential properties, multifamily properties, commercial properties, and place of worship. A best of the best recipient will be honored in each of the categories. I'd like to thank all the Beautification Commissioners here tonight and for their dedication to the program. Nancy Kijek, Manny Gonzalez, Sue Hobig, and Lisa Lane. At this time, I'd like to invite Michael Mayor Taylor, members of City Council, to join me in presenting the 2024 Sterling Heights Beautification Awards. To the award recipients here tonight, when your address is called, please come forward to receive your award from Mayor Taylor. A photograph of the honor addresses will be shown on Sterling Heights TV and here on the video screen.
Are we
all going down, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess so.
Dawn, are you talking or are you on video?
I'm on video. You'll see both.
Okay, am I in charge of the certificates?
Yes.
Okay, I've never done this.
Commercial properties. Credit Union 1.
Good job with the door. Oh, thank you.
Mangiabevi Urban Italian.
It's because it's.
Ventimiglia Italian Foods. Multifamily Properties. American House, Sterling Meadows. Sterling Knolls Apartments. Places of worship. St. Matthias Catholic Church. St. Jane Frances de Chantal. Residential properties. 11773 Danforth Drive, Taylor family.
Good job, buddy. Congratulations.
2510 Terry Drive, Anne Marie Reed. Eight 740 Altward Drive, Daniel and Wendy Bush. 40323 Colony Drive, Adam and Angela Rimmel. 39914 Wilmette Drive, Edward and Joan Biggis.
Yeah, it's probably her.
Beautiful job.
She's taking all the credit. You're the director, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a great job.
Great job.
13597 Kingsville Drive, Grace and Terry Prisby.
Thank you.
3152 Franklin Park Drive, Linda and Nicole Kurtik. 43768 Trillium Drive, George and Rita Majares. Three 7730 Fieldcrest Lane, Diane Sakuchi. 44339 Lake Point Drive, Arlene Klinger. 43243 Chardonnay Drive, Kim McQuaid. 38195 Shaner Road, Camoon family. 39428 Bella Vista Drive, Stephen Lyons.
4
14022 Coldwater Drive, Joni S. and Jamison T. McKay. Three 6239 Melbourne Drive, Denise and Wally Bronson. One 1125 Granada Drive, Bev McQuaid. Three 4401 Amsterdam Drive, Lorenzo Howard. Four 466 18.5 Mile Road, Slavka Milinkovic. One 1409 Francis Drive, Tom and Shinny George. 14267 Lakeshore Drive, Rick and Gail Strawn. 13511 Mar Drive, Jeffrey Kakowski. 41215 Fieldview Drive, Shauna Monet. 13833 Harbor Court, Simon Zagata. 38978 Marlborough Drive, Paul and Georgia Osak. Three 521 Leeson, Kenneth and Barbara Milchinsky. 38179 Shaner Road, Sue Falk. 14327 Peterborough Drive, Craig and Mary Poloski. 35464 Kensington Avenue, Sharon and Evan Runson. 11243 Regal Drive, Ashley and Gordon Hopper. And now for the best of the best. Commercial property. Pennas of Sterling. Multifamily property. Fieldstone Apartments.
Appreciate it.
Beautiful work. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Nice job. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Place of worship. St. Michael's Catholic Church.
Here we are. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good job. You're welcome. Thank you. Hi, thank you so much.
Residential property, 33572 Ashton Drive. Veronica and Aaron Kumar.
You took it right in your yard. Beautiful job, Veronica.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor.
Make one of those for my husband.
You want to just have this one? I don't know if, just best of the best.
I didn't say like best of the best all time.
I know, you don't. I've made that mistake.
My knee hurts.
I'd like to thank you, everyone, for attending tonight's Beautification Awards. Please remain seated so that City Council may formally recognize tonight's recipients. And I'd like to remind everyone that the Beautification Commission is now accepting nominations for Halloween decorated homes. You can submit your pictures to our Community Relations Department anytime between now and October 31st.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Isom, and thank you to all the awardees tonight. Council, we do have a resolution. Who'd like to make that motion?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Sarowski.
resolved to individually and collectively recognize the 2024 Beautification Award winners and thank them for the dedication and effort in making their properties, neighborhoods, and the city of Sterling Heights a more beautiful place to live, work, and play.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Just want to say thank you again, the homes and businesses and multifamilies and religious places of worship, everything was beautiful. Thank you, because it does, really do make our city so much nicer, and thank you again. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sarowski. Council, anyone else? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. One more big round of applause for every recipient tonight. And thank you to our Beautification Commission. You do a fantastic job setting an example for all of us, and we appreciate your service. Can we have a round of applause for our entire Beautification Commission? Okay, let's take another short recess, and we'll be back with the remaining items on our agenda tonight. So about 5 minutes. We'll stand in recess. Okay, calling this meeting back to order. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda tonight, which is to consider adoption of an ordinance amending Articles 14A and 25 of zoning ordinance number 278 as amended to address permissible special approval land and non-conforming uses within the Van Dyke mixed-use district. Would you like to make a presentation, Dr. Purcell? Okay, we'll be available for questions. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Mrs. Niaz.
Mayor and Council Yvonne Nias. As I was reading this, there are numerous places where I find that things are kind of in conflict. One of them being relating to automotive, no automotive service centers, rentals, repairing, but yet we're going to allow new car showrooms, which I thought were dealerships, which also service vehicles, rent vehicles, and do repairs. And then one of the other things that I'm finding a bit of a conflict is we're not going to be allowing smoke shops, but yet we're going to have microbreweries, micro distilleries, and micro wineries. And what's the difference? They're all related to, you've got to be over 18, 21, whatever, to do this. And basically, to me, if you don't want to go into a smoke shop, don't. If you don't want to go into a bar or a brewery, don't. But disallowing the general public because we're being progressive, I don't think that applies. Other things that if you read through it are a little conflict, but we have to remember this is not Centerline, it's not Hazel Park, it's not Ferndale or Royal Oak or Birmingham, Bloomfield. This is Sterling Heights, and Van Dyke Corridor is kind of, it's there. And making these changes, we're still going to be just little bitty spots of this change, but yet the rest of it's still going to be strip malls and industrial and some few apartments, and it really just doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nias. Anyone else on this item? Mr. Smith?
Paul Smith, Sterling Heights property owner, resident, voter, and taxpayer since 1977. The city council has done a pretty good job of keeping a low profile on such a blockbuster of an item. Surprised there's only two of us here. I'd like to have each one of you ask yourself, what makes you believe that you need any such thing as this useless and counterproductive package? Don't waste our time nitpicking the minute details. Just walk away from the whole thing. Sterling Heights employs Luke Bonner with fantastic pay, benefits, expenses, and bonuses to drag in any kind of business and industry he can get with 50 or 100% tax breaks and free lands. He greases the packages through by hacking through with 24 variances, rezoning, anything it takes to get the job done. Now, for some reason, Sterling Heights has employed an idealistic utopian intellectual who's contrived the gigantic manifesto of Agenda 21 roadblocks that are in direct conflict with the business and industrial promotion we're paying Luke Bonner to do. Now, what's with this mixed use stuff? I'd like to have each one of you explain to me why mixed use has become a new religion. That for some reason we got to have commercial on the first floor and residential upstairs. You know, that's a fire trap waiting to happen that every resident in a building exponentially increases the risk of fire. And business and personal, along with rentals in the same place, that's a fire trap waiting to come. Fortunately, we hired 7 new firemen, which will come in handy with all this high-density mixed-use stuff we're putting it in. The real men who made America great did it with inventions and genuine financial backing. They didn't do it by waving a diploma in your face and claiming to be better than the peasants. We don't need PUDs, overlays, carve-outs, or special districts. What we need and expect is stable government based on the sacred right of zoning. The U.S. Constitution, which obviously is not taught in East Lansing, forbids ex post facto laws, but ex post facto is exactly what we're doing by putting an overlay over the zoning and regulations that the city lives by. M53 is a state highway from Detroit to Imlay City, from Warren to Shelby Township. Every state highway will not automatically be lined with precisely the way a utopian visionary imagines it should be. Once built, things tend to stay as they were for a long time. Don't you comprehend the massive waste of employing 2 high-paid city employees in direct conflict with each other? The answer is simple. Dismiss both Luke and Dr. Jake without further delay. Use the cost savings to hire 5 more laborers in the DPW. Fix potholes and water mains. That would be a tangible benefit rather than the nebulous flim-flam of this project. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for those suggestions. Mr. Smith, anybody else on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Sarowski.
Resolved to adopt the ordinance amending Articles 14A and 25 of zoning ordinance number 278 as amended to address permissible special approval land and non-conforming uses within the Van Dyke mixed-use district.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Actually, with the new additions, I really don't have anything more to say or questions on it. I appreciate that but I will, let me back up. Could, through the chair to Dr. Parcells, could you explain for the resident what the showroom actually, the auto showroom actually is, and so that it's more clear to the resident who had a question on it?
Yes, thank you. So the automotive showroom is a different type of displaying vehicles. You see this along Woodward in particular, another automotive-driven corridor, where you have indoor showrooms of classic or new cars that are for sale. People can peruse, discuss the different types of items that are in here, not unlike what I view GM Live as in our Van Dyke corridor. So something that can display different types of technologies and vehicles internally and have them displayed outward for people to come in and view and experience.
So thank you. So it is not a car dealership. It does not have any type of automotive repair shop. It does not have any type of automotive sales personnel.
There certainly could be sales associated in a certain aspect, but not likely you'll see the collision repair or repair that's associated with a dealership.
Okay.
None of the type of things that could create like a brownfield.
Okay, I appreciate that. Other than that, I have no further questions. Thank you, Mayor Taylor.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. Council, any further discussion?
Briefly, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Just to clarify, one more off of Mayor Pro Tem. So an indoor dealership, which did not have a lot of excess vehicles or storage on site, would be allowed. What we're talking about outlawing are these massive fields of cars or collision shops or junkyards or whatever else behind,
yes,
to essentially make it a more compact formula. Is that correct, Dr. Parcell?
That's correct.
Yes. Just 2 points of clarification. This ordinance, because it's written as part of our current ordinance, still designates fast food stores as those with drive-throughs. We're going to hopefully fix that in the upcoming ordinance changes. Is that correct, Dr. Parcell?
That's
Chair,
correct.
I'm sorry. That's correct?
Through the chair, yes.
And then, and just to be clear, this ordinance adds back in the smoke shop and firearm store ban, but they could be allowed as an ancillary use to another business. Is that correct through the chair?
That's also correct, yes.
Then I have no problem. You know, this is like all ordinances, it's a compromise. It's not exactly what I would want, but I think that we've made some strides here, so I'm happy to support it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Council, anyone else? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Parcells, Mr. Keenan, Mr. Koszybski, your team at O'Reilly for the work on this. I appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the consent agenda, with the omission of item E from the consent agenda, which will become 9B. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
Been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item is to consider appointments to the City of Sterling Heights Elected Officials Compensation Commission. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, okay. This is a mayoral appointment. There are 3 open seats to partial terms ending in 3 separate dates. Take these one at a time. The first one to a term ending June 30th, 2025. I'd appreciate it if a member could make the appointment of Riley Maher to the term ending June 30th, 2025.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Yanez.
resolve to appoint Riley Maher to the Elected Officials Compensation Commission to a term ending June 30th, 2025. Is that correct?
Correct.
2025, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter subset 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support. Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
No discussion.
With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is to a term ending June 30th, 2027. I'd ask the council member to make the appointment of Catherine Giles.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke.
on the advice of the mayor, resolved to appoint Catherine Giles to the Elected Officials Compensation Commission to a term ending June 30th, 2027, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter subsection 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lastly, the term ending June 30th, 2031. I'd ask a council member to make the appointment of Meredith Inks.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to appoint Meredith Grace Inks to the Elected Officials Compensation Commission to a term ending June 30th, 2031, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, we'll move on to item E from the consent agenda, which has become consideration item B. This is to accept a proposal for mental health contracted services. First-year annual cost of $153,660. Police Chief Dale Dwojciechowski is here. Chief, would you like to make a presentation or be available for questions? Okay. Yeah.
Mayor Taylor, members of council, it's a great night. We're finally here. We've been talking about this for a long time. As you know, Sterling Heights led the way with offering social services. We saw a need. We saw issues with substance use disorder, homelessness, mental health calls going through the roof. Everyone that's a police officer knows this. Half the runs we go to involve some type of mental health issue, trauma. So we went out and becoming one of the few jurisdictions in all the state of Michigan to hire our own in-house social worker. We had great success, and then that person, like all people with a master's degree in social work, are in high demand, just like our firefighters, paramedic, EMTs. very difficult to get. They left, we hired another person out of college, again, a short tenure, and then we started realizing as we talked to our community health partners that trying to find licensed master social workers, very, very difficult. It was a tough time. So then we started looking at contracting, subcontracting with an agency to provide those social services. We put an RFP out, thanks to Eric's Curtis help, thank you, Eric, and Kate Baldwin. We put together an RFP. We had about 7 or 8 people submit proposals, and we went through a rigorous interview process with the people that did submit proposals, and we came up with Face Addiction Now, formerly Families Against Narcotics, FAN, as they're commonly known. And I'm so proud that, number one, that FAN just chose to put in the request for proposal, but more importantly, our partnership with FAN spans years with Hope Not Handcuffs, the opiate quick response team, and our redirect program. So we have a track record with FAN. Linda Davis and Dunya, which all of you know, very successful organization, and they do a lot of good work. Tonight I do have in the audience Mark, who's going to be one of our case managers if everything gets approved by council tonight, Emma with FAN, and Kayla with FAN. Kayla is a former Detroit police officer, how many years, Kayla? 26 and a half years with DPD and a PhD in human services. And so she works on the back end. So what we're getting with FAN, we're not only getting 2 case managers through FAN, but an entire back office of support people for statistics, grants, tracking of cases, and every single type of resource we could possibly need and want, versus doing it all in-house. When you hire in-house, that person is on an island and they're forced to utilize other social services, the county, the state, for those resources. But these people, Mark has an entire back office for support. So I couldn't be any prouder to stand here and say, yes, I've worked with FAN for many years. They put out an excellent product, and we have such an awesome partnership, and I have no doubt this is going to be highly successful.
All right, thank you very much, Chief. We'll call you back up if we have any questions. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Sarowski.
Resolved to accept a proposal by Families Against Narcotics, which is now Facing Addiction Now. Can I add that in there or now? Is it still going to, okay, because it is currently their name. 43800 Garfield Road, Suite 200, Clinton Township, Michigan, 48038 for mental health contracted services for the period October 1, 2024 through September 30th, 2027, at a first-year cost of $100,053.659. Let me just go.
It'll be $153,659.83.
Thank you, that number right there. I hate numbers. And my husband's laughing in the background. I'm watching the TV right now. Yeah, that guy. With 3% increases annually, therefore, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
Support. It's been moved and supported.
Do I
Any
have to repeat it?
discussion?
Yeah, I do
Mrs.
actually have some
Sarowski?
questions. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions. So first things first, through the chair to probably, well, I'll start with Dale Wojciechowski, if I could, please. And you might have to ask one of our fan members to
Yes. If you guys want to come
define
up to
this.
the front row, that way it's be even faster. Thank you.
So, I'll wait till they come up.
Tell us their names again, Chief, too, so we can write them down.
Yes, Kayla, Mark, and Emma. Yes.
Kyla?
Kyla,
Kyla. I was saying
Mark,
Kayla.
and Emma.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, welcome, and so far, I'm looking to the dais. So my question for you, because we are replacing our Masters of Social Work people with case managers, can you tell me what, is a case manager a social worker? Or are you psych people? What is your background? What is your education? What are you providing for our, as a service?
Yeah, I'll start off a little bit with that. So we met with not only FAN, but we met with Care of Southeast Michigan. We also met with Macomb County Department of Mental Health. all three of them said, what are you trying to do in Sterling Heights? And we said, we are trying to help people in their worst possible moment, people with substance use disorder, homelessness, mental health conditions, and we connect that person with services to get them out of the hole. All three of these agencies said the same thing. You don't really need an MSW. You need a case manager, someone to do these warm handoffs with service groups. And we heard this over and over again. A master's degree in social work, it takes, much more schooling, oversight, and those people oftentimes provide counseling and services and one-on-one support. And what we envision in the city is not so much one-on-one counseling services. These FAN is not going to be doing counseling. They're going to be providing the people with the counselors, whether it's state services, county services, private services, Medicare, Medicaid. That's what they're going to be doing. That's what a case manager does. So I don't know if anyone wants to step in and add to that.
Hi, we had a lot of conversations with the police department and thought a lot about their unique needs. And we suggested that a case manager would be more appropriate for these services because, just like Chief said, MSWs, they do clinical work, they do diagnosis, right? Whereas our case managers have years of experience, on-the-ground experience. And because as an agency, we've worked extensively with the population that's experiencing substance use. And there's so much overlap between substance use disorder, mental health, homelessness. So everything that we anticipate will be this program's service population. And in addition to that, in terms of our academic background, all of our case managers have bachelor's degrees. So for example, Mark will be on the team. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and years of case management experience.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great, thank you. So that just gives us an idea of what you're going to do, and thank you very, very much. So that gets me to my next question, which is, so so you, and I see that you do the assessment and that assessment piece, and then you have, and I know you have lots of networking and resources and able to get these people where they need to go. What I'm concerned, the only thing that I'm then concerned about is when you're when the social worker at that time, so are these case managers going to be on runs with the officers? Is that how that's going to work?
Yes, so we're so excited for the first time ever to have two of them. We always had one. One was completely overworked. Safe Home Task Force, our kind of state leading task force to address hoarding issues, that is almost a full-time job. So now we're going to have two people doing this. And what I envision is that if a run comes out, that they can leave the office. Before, there was no way. There was just case after case. So we would like them, if they're working, to be able to get out of the office, actually make that scene of that, the mental run, the substance use disorder issue, a suicidal person, and to help be that resource. And obviously after hours, they know that could happen too, as far as a hoarding call, it does happen. So yes, not all day being in a car, but if something does happen, to be able to leave the office to go handle that issue right then and there.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate that, thank you. Okay, so, but most of it, I'm sure, will be just the referrals from the officers.
It's after the fact. The officer takes a case report, then that case report gets assigned by a sergeant, and they're going to put it right in a queue, a computer queue through our software system, and it's going to be assigned to social worker. They'll get it the morning they come in. It says, oh, this happened at this family trouble. Oh boy, this is a real mess. They would go do a house visit, figure out what resources. It's almost after the fact, yeah.
Sure, but that makes sense, and I understand that process. Okay, very good. Okay, awesome. Bless you. All right, I'm going to leave off with that then, because I see how this, I mean, I'm a director of nursing. I've been doing that kind of stuff in home care nursing, so I get that process. And even though the director of nursing, mental health, I think every one of our patients has mental health issues, every single one of them. It doesn't matter, and I take care of retired priests. Every single, 90% of my men are on medication, psych meds. In some cases, some is just anxiety and depression, and I just say just, but it's a fact of life, at least in our society now. There's a lot of mental health issues, so yeah, I can imagine it's only exponentiated, and when there's trauma and other everything else going on. So that's all I'm going to say because I know my colleagues have other questions, but I thank you, Mr. Yenes, for pulling this off the agenda just because it does help really give depth to this. And I know right now there's a big fundraiser for
Fan.
tonight.
Yes.
So I have family members there supporting it and hope a lot of money's going to it tonight. So thank you for all that you guys do.
Mayor Pro Tem Strasser, I'm glad you brought that. Families Against Narcotics Face Addiction now has their gigantic once-a-year fundraiser. So
Right.
that's where Linda Davis is and Dunya. They're all there right now. I was there earlier and I ran back for the meeting. So that's why unfortunately they wanted to be here.
Of course they would, and they would be here if they aren't trying to make sure that it continues to be as well funded as it needs to be. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. Council, anyone else?
Go ahead. You can, no, go on.
Okay.
Mr. Yanis.
Thank you very much.
You have lots more questions.
I have a few. So thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate that. And Chief, thank you for being here as well. I went through all the documentation. This seems like to be a very robust program, and this is actually very exciting. So we've been without a social worker for quite a while now, but the mental health calls never stop, right? So we're looking forward to having here just a couple process questions as I was going through the documentation. It looks like FAN is going to oversee your workers, right? I'm just wondering, Chief, how this is going to interface with the police department. In the previous, when we had our own social worker, we had a police officer overseeing that social worker. So can you kind of walk us through how this is going to look?
Yeah, Mr. Yanis, that's a great question. And that probably was the weakest part of what we were doing. I had a police sergeant overseeing a social worker with no social worker experience. So they had no one to go to. And then when there was a problem, that sergeant said, I don't know, I'm not a social worker. So now we're going to handle getting them the runs, the equipment, the training, how to respond safely. We'll take care of all that with our case managers to make sure that they're not hurt when they're out on calls, the protocol, how to use a radio, how to respond to a house after hours, the computer system. We'll take care of all that. But when they have questions about follow-up treatment, housing options, food insecurities, all of that, that is FAN, and FAN has an entire back office of employees that do this 24/7. And that's the power of having an organization and subcontracting with FAN.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to have to ask the city attorney or not, but since FAN is going to sort of be out there on their own as their own entity, but yet representing the city of Sterling Heights, if there is some, through the chair to the city attorney, if there is some sort of altercation or some sort of confrontation or what have you, what is the city's liability in regards to these workers?
Mr. Yashewski.
So that's a great question, Councilman Yenes. So whenever we have independent contractors, they're responsible for the means and methods and how they do their work. One of the things that we'll be doing is providing an officer that'll make sure that if we're going on an initial run that they have safety there. The city's doing a governmental function, so the reality is we have governmental immunity, and there would be really no liability to the city if something were to happen. That's the risk that FAN takes every day, and it's part of what we do as a city.
And thank you, Mr. Kashubski. And are your employees, you have insurance covering your employees if, say, there was some sort of altercation, they got hit with something or what have you, and they were injured, there was hospitalization, that's something that your health insurance you provide would cover?
We have an incident reporting process in place as well. And FAN provides health insurance, so that person would be able to seek medical care if they needed to.
Okay, very good. And tell me a little bit about follow-ups, if there is going to be any follow-up at all. You get dispatched to a run, it's someone that we've run on multiple times. Is there going to be some sort of interface to let us know the status of the run that they were sent on for our purposes, Chief?
Yeah, so we bought a case management software program that we want to keep on going with our last two MSWs that we had. We bought the software. It's a case tracking software. Every single thing they do goes in there, what they did, who they ran into, what services they provided. We still expect them to put that in that case management software so we can monitor how many people, the treatment, the time, the hours spent with these people. We want to know that from the city's end. I'm sure FAN is probably going to have some system that you guys track. We haven't really talked about that in the back end, but it sounds like they're going to have a system as well to keep track of who they're dealing with and services provided. So yes, we have software right now, and they're going to have to log every single thing they do in that system.
So we'll be able to follow a case from beginning to end?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
that's the important thing. Do you interface with county mental health at all? On any kind of case?
Community mental health.
Community mental health, I'm sorry, community mental health.
We haven't we done work with them before? I took the position with FAN in February, so
Okay.
I'm kind of new to the block. But I think our case managers, you have worked with community health workers before, community mental health before, in a case management role when an individual needs that particular services.
Yeah, one of the reasons I asked that, Chief, is because, as you all know, the county has sort of reassessed how they're going to process offenders at the county jail, and they're going to do a diversion, right? And I'm just wondering at some point, I don't know when that program is going to happen, but at some point, how we're going to dovetail into that. And I hope that we're thinking about that as we move forward, and how we're going to be working with county if you're sending someone to the county jail, so.
Yeah, the county's going to have a huge role in this because they still provide so many services to our residents, Macomb County Community Mental Health. So they're going to have to work hand in, and that's one of the biggest pots of resources, that and the state. So they're going to, that's going to be one of our big resources, absolutely.
And then just a couple more things. I noticed here, in the contract, it says there's $2,000 put aside for subcontracts. Do you know who you subcontract with? Do you know anything about this? Okay.
I think it's our data contractors.
Okay.
So we contract with an organization called Data Bloom. They're out of Ohio, and they built our case management system. It's a very comprehensive case management system. So going back to your question of documentation and how it will be done, we start with a biopsychosocial assessment in the system. Then we do an individual service plan. Every single contact with the individual is documented, phone calls, text messages, in person. Every single contact with third parties, right? So the police officer, for example, that's making the referral will be documented in the case management system. And we also use the case management system to evaluate our outcomes. So for example, for our redirect program, the case management system tracks subsequent arrests and recidivism, since that is the focus of that program. And our data contractors are really flexible with us and can make any changes to the system that we may need to evaluate outcomes in this new program as well.
Okay. And just to be clear, because it was mentioned about the fundraising night, you are a nonprofit, right? You're not a private corporation for profit, okay. And then last but not least, I noticed that FAN has their own quick response team. Will we be giving up our quick response team in lieu of their quick response team?
FAN is our quick response team.
But
So
we used to have, don't we have an officer go out with them?
we do.
And we're still going to do that?
They go out with FAN. FAN for years now has given us free peer recovery coaches, family recovery coaches. 1 to 2 days a week, we knock on doors with people that just overdosed. And FAN does that completely free of charge to the residents of Sterling Heights. We have helped hundreds and hundreds of people getting into treatment after a drug overdose. We're going to continue doing that program exactly the way it is. An officer who has volunteered for the detail gets assigned to 2 people from FAN, and they go knocking on doors for people that have just overdosed. That's going to continue like it always has.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, and that's all I have. I just want to say that, I know this has been a very long, tough, and contentious issue. Mental health is, something that's been with us, is going to be with us for a long time, and trying to reduce the amount of runs and obviously the cost that comes along with those through a program like this, I think is going to be incredible for our city and for our residents. I want to thank you, Chief, and your colleagues in the city here that you did the legwork to go through this process and finally whittle it down to what we're seeing here tonight. I'm very excited. As I said, this looks like to be a very robust program, and I'm excited that we're doing this. So welcome aboard, guys. Appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yanez. Anyone else? Mrs. Zarko?
Mayor Taylor, I have just a couple of questions. First of all, I think this is a great idea. But I have to tell you, I've probably known about FAN since it started. And I didn't realize that your services were beyond people that just needed with substance abuse problems. So in other words, if we had somebody that's hoarding or maybe is depressed, has nothing to do with substance abuse, you've been taking care of those types of cases all along, and we just didn't know that? Through the chair to whoever wants to answer me.
Well, I will say, so we work with them on drug programs, so there has to be a nexus to an overdose or a drug use dependency issue. So when they step in, what they find is hoarding, no health care. They get them signed up for Medicare, Medicaid. They get them housed. That's what FAN does in the back end. But it always starts off with a drug referral. But that drug referral always ends up being a host of problems. So they have always taken care of all those things and helped plug in those resources. But now we don't need the drug part. There's no nexus to a substance use disorder issue. They are now, as subcontractors, if you guys approve this, they will just be working on a mental health call, a suicidal person, a hoarder that has no drug issue. They're now going to be doing that for us as well in this expanded role.
Okay. Now, are you hiring more people to do this?
Yes, 2 more people.
You're hiring 2 more people?
Mark is going to be one of them, and then there'll be an additional one.
Okay. I guess my other thing is mental health is pretty much, it's an issue that we have, and it doesn't matter where you live, I don't care what city, state, it's here. We know from talking to our youth that it even is a concern for them. If you were to talk to our youth advisory board and ask them what's the 4 biggest concerns that they have, mental health always shows up because of what they see at their age in school. So I think this should help all of us and certainly will help the residents. And that's another thing. If we find out that somebody's visiting, they're not even a resident of Sterling Heights, but visiting someone and it becomes an issue, will they be eligible for all of these services?
It's such a phenomenal question. Mark knows this firsthand. So FAN is so great. They do everything for us for free. They've been doing this for years. We had a homeless gentleman living in the Walmart parking lot out of his car. He was not a Sterling Heights resident, but that's where his car broke down. That's where he was. We found him. Captain Basseline was on another call looking for an Alzheimer patient. We found this guy. We thought it was a guy, but it wasn't. So we had no one to turn to. We called FAN. FAN sent Mark out to the scene. And again, someone that doesn't live here, and bought him food, got him set up for benefits, ongoing meetings with this guy, which is still ongoing. So he's got dozens of hours logged into this, and that's before we even hired these guys. And that person doesn't live in Sterling Heights. So yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. If you're in our city, we're going to provide the services.
And I think what's beneficial is you have contacts with the resources that some of these people are going to need, what they're going to need rather than us starting from scratch. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this program being successful, and if there's anything else that we can do to help you, just let us know. So good luck.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Mrs. Koski.
Thank you. Through the chair to the chief. Now, we will have 2 case workers that will be assigned to Sterling Heights. Now, are you full-time employees, contract employees? How does that work?
Yes, full-time employees, 40 hours a week, contracted through FAN, yes.
Okay. And our police officers would be the ones that would come up with the people that need the services, is that correct?
They show up at a run, they go, wow, this is beyond my control. I'm going to take care of the crisis. This is a long-term fix. So the officers know, and then they got used to doing this in the bottom of their case report, requesting follow-up from social worker. That's what they write. That's assigned to the detective bureau. They get their report, this has to go to the social worker. This is a mess. And then they get it the next morning, and they start taking care of the mess. And they try to fix the problems. That's what they're doing.
And then the caseworker will make contact with the people. Now, are the people aware that the caseworker is going to be coming out? And any insurance involved here at all?
Yeah, so they'll notify the people before they get there that they're trying to make contact, if they have a working phone. And then obviously it's up to them. One of the things we often, they don't have insurance, whether it's private pay or Medicare or Medicaid. That's what Mark has helped done. I know Fan has done this many, many, many times. Get them enrolled in their benefits that they're entitled to through the state of Michigan, because that's the first step to get them into treatment and to get them some money, supplemental money for housing. It all starts with benefits, and a lot of times they don't even bother applying. And the gentleman that Mark dealt with at Walmart was completely, he was in his 70, way past Social Security, never even applied for Social Security. So he's living in his car, but he has no Social Security. I mean, simple things like that, that someone has to hold their hand to get them through this, and that's what we're hoping they're gonna do.
And Mark is going to be a full-time employee. We're going to keep you very, very busy, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Fan is upset we're stealing him. We want him, so they're upset that we're taking him, so we're gonna try to get another one too, another really good one like Mark.
So the two that are assigned to us are the ones that will always continue to work with Sterling Heights and become familiar with our officers and what's going on, and continue with the best word, patience, that we
Yes.
come up with.
Yes.
Sounds like a wonderful program.
I just wanted to mention that we're building this program on the foundation that we already have with Sterling Heights PD through our Hope Not Handcuffs program, Quick Response Team, and Redirect. So this is years of collaboration, and this new program will be built on that foundation. We are very committed to tailoring the program to serve the specific needs of the community. So for example, my understanding is there will be 2 shifts. That way there's coverage throughout the entire day. And lastly, I just wanted to say that I can't say enough good things about the Sterling Heights Police Department, about the chief, Captain Bastinelli, Detective Josh Selby, who is our redirect coordinator and our quick response team coordinator. So going into this, we're very confident that we will be successful and effective and serve the community and help individuals that are struggling. So we've already, in this process, started diversifying our skill set. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, we attended a hoarding training. So we are very committed to doing everything we need to do to make this program successful and effective.
One last question. Will you also be working with minors? Children underage?
Yes, yeah, that's gonna happen, yeah. And obviously, with the help of the parents, the legal guardians, absolutely, because it happens all the time. So I could envision the follow being with the parent, the legal guardian, to make sure that kid gets into the treatment and support that kid needs, so we don't have to go back out to the house or the school again for the end, the 20th time, but yes, absolutely. And you're right, Councilwoman Zarko's comment, the amount of mental health runs we're seeing in the junior highs and the high schools, the number of school threats that we've had since the start of the year, we might up to be to 20, just a guess, 20 different threats made from junior high to high schools, all usually social media based. And to me, this is a symptom of what's going on mental health wise, whether it's depression, anxiety, acting out and doing dumb things on social media that's gonna screw them up for the rest of their life. It's just, yeah, it's a problem.
Or actions that they take that they shouldn't, which we are well aware of just recently. They would be able to step in there and prevent future happenings like that. Great program. I wish you good luck. Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I just have a couple of questions. Most of mine have been answered already. So I take it this is Fan's first undertaking of this sort, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of a pilot program, like the QRT was a pilot, Redirect was a pilot, led the state in both those.
And you know what? That marriage has proven to be really good, so this can only enhance it and make it better. I'm excited about it. And you had said there are gonna be 2 shifts, so Mark, you'll work day shift and you'll have your partner will work the afternoon shift or the evening shift. Is that how you're planning on working this? And I'm wondering about, will you also be on call, because there are more than 40 hours in a week? And if so, if you're called on call, is there an extra fee assigned with that, or how is that handled?
Yeah, we have overtime covered in the contract. If that's incurred, we'll have to pay that. And also, we were thinking about staggering the start shifts, maybe have the early car, or the early person, and then maybe someone starting later in the day at noon, and then working into the early evening, so that they're not, we're still figuring out like when the bulk of the calls are gonna be, to try to maybe stagger the shifts to get us better coverage. Yep.
And will their office be at the PD, or will it be at the fan office? Where will you be?
We have 2 office areas already set up because our former social worker had an office, and we got ready for a second social worker. So we have 2 office areas ready to go right now at the PD. Yep.
Look, I'm excited about this. I think, you know, I loved the idea of us being, you know, the first to have a social worker, and however, we didn't know what we didn't know, unfortunately. I view this as so much more resources for social services that people need in our community. You know, and it doesn't take a master's degree to have those resources, and you folks already have them. So I think this is the continuation of a great marriage, and I am excited at the possibilities and the help that our residents and visitors to our city are gonna get from this program. So thanks, Chief, for, you know, doing the legwork on this, and whoever did in the PD, the team that put it together. I'm excited. I think, I'm excited to hear results and statistics that come out of this. So, you know, we think we're a great city, but every city has its issues, and we are not one to hide behind that either. So, we're out there trying to help as many folks as we can. So thank you and good luck.
Yep.
Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, I'm very familiar with FAN, and I appreciate the work they do, but I have some concerns. Does FAN, I guess through the chair to the chief or to the organization, have the capacity to go beyond substance abuse? We've talked a lot about substance abuse, and oftentimes there is a nexus with substance abuse and the people that we deal with, but we have hoarding issues, we have homeless issues, we have a plethora of issues, and I'm just not sure if FAN is the proper organization to have that placement. I appreciate that we work with them in a lot of things. I think they do a tremendous job. I'm a member of the Drug Free Coalition. I deal with them often. But I'm not sure if this organization has that capacity to really think beyond addiction issues. So I'd ask the chief to talk about that, through the chair, obviously.
Yeah, I would say this, I know a lot of their case managers over here, this is what they do every single day. All of their case managers that do, not only our QRT, but QRT is in 28 or 26 different cities. So there are family recovery coaches, peer recovery coaches, and case managers that work across many, many cities. So when someone needs resources, whether it's housing or food or substance use disorder treatment, they know how to plug that person in with that treatment model. That's what they do over and over again. So I have zero doubt. Mark, I just gave you one just topical story where that's exactly what he did. He acted as a case manager. That person, by all accounts, really, we don't know if there was a substance use disorder. Trauma, yeah, so really no substance, but yet the answer is still the same. Get that person to apply for the benefits they got. Try to find him some housing, try to get him out of his car, try to improve that quality of life, and that's what we're hoping they're gonna be able to accomplish. And that's exactly what our previous 2 social workers were doing, the exact same thing that Mark has done and FAN has done for, oh my God, hundreds of people that have had issues with SUD here in Sterling Heights. They plug those people in with resources. So I think the track record is pretty strong, and like you said before, we've been doing this for years. And with Linda Davis and Dunya behind the scenes, they are tenacious at what they do. And again, you almost, Councilwoman Schmidt's comment, this is a pilot program. They're not going to let this fail. So this is going to be very successful. I have no doubt, and I have, a lot of respect for their organization, and I think that it's going to work.
If I can say something, sure. Question. One resource I haven't heard brought up yet is Chelsea Perino, and she's the clinical director over at FAN. And I'd be having case reviews once a month, and I could reach out to her whatever day if I needed to. So if I got to a case that, hey, wow, I'm stuck here, boom. So that licensed mastered social worker is right there for me.
And her background is in mental health as well.
Yep.
So.
But you can understand the concern, Chief.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is, even for fan, even when we approached them, we said, would you be interested in this? And they said, well, that's an interesting question. And we all scratched our heads and said, well, everything else, we're doing this work on a regular basis. So I think I've moved beyond that whole leap of can they do this? I have high confidence they can do, but I totally get your concern.
Well, and to go even beyond that, you know, having a social worker and then 2 social workers was something that the city was very proud of. We talked a lot about it. We saw the benefit of it immediately. I'm wondering if this is a step back, and not through any bad instance of it. I guess having social workers work at the PD was, I would say, somewhat of a culture clash at times. And I don't know if the solution to the culture clash is just to get rid of them and to contract it out. And I think that maybe that's something to do with our organization's not melding in the proper way. And I also wonder if this is just a way to pass the hat. I hear a lot about connecting resources. That's very important. But at the end of the day, we want to solve these people's problems and to make them at least productive, or at least not a problem to our police not having calls. I see a lot of, well, we'll get them the services and we'll move them along. But I don't know if that is solving the problem. And a caseworker has a bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. I think it's a great thing. But a social worker has a social worker degree, and that's what they specialize in. And I think that that's something to do. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the same thing. And I'm not sure if this will work. I guess I'm going to support it because my colleagues are going to support it. But I think that the city is taking a step back, and I'm not sure if it's for the best. I guess, how will these folks be managed? They're going to be managed by FAN as contractors through us, but they're going to work in our building.
They're gonna work in our building, they're gonna get case assignments from our officers, we're gonna know exactly what they're working on, we have access to the.
But, sorry to cut you off, Chief, but we're not supervising them directly.
Supervising, no, they would look to FAN for supervision for the case management end of things, yes. But if we think they're doing something, not showing up at work, not being there, not responding to calls, complaints, yeah, then we're gonna step in and say, hey, you can't do this. You have to be here on time, you have to call this person back, what happened with this case? This lady's upset, she's now filing a complaint, that would all be on our end. So they're like our employee for all, but the great thing.
They're not our employee because.
Well, I know they're subcontracting, but then to that point of a police sergeant managing case managers and social workers, that's really not an optimum solution either. So we believe their back end and the people they have at FAN offer so much more support and services. So we're happy about that partnership.
Well, no, I see the more support. I guess this goes back to the age-old question if we should have our own health department, because I think we should. Because I think that this is a solution for the problem of we were kind of in between before. And instead of, I guess, leaning in, we're leaning out. And I don't like that. So I'm going to support this because what else are we going to do? We don't have any social workers right now. These services are being unmet. So I'm going to vote in favor of the contract in front of me. But I think that, like many things around here, this might come back again, much like the former purchasing manager and other things that I said at this table, I don't think this is going to work. And then it came back. So I'm afraid, I hope it doesn't, but I bet you it will. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Look, I'm going to say this. I talked to Mr. Vanderpool about this, and I've been familiar with the work FAN's done for a very long time as well. And sort of that was probably my first instinct too. Like, wait, what does our social worker have to do with, trying to educate families and doctors about narcotics and opioids and educate people about opioids, which is my understanding. I'm sure that that's not necessarily a fair summary of the work that FAN does, but it was explained to me by Mr. Vanderpool, and the chief has, I think, done a great job of explaining it tonight. And I think it just is more about my parochial view of FAN than what FAN actually is. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to support this tonight. I think it makes a lot of sense. A couple of other things. Number one, I want to say to the three of you here, thank you for being here tonight. And I understand why Judge Davis can't be here. I just think it's a phenomenal story. This organization being founded in Macomb County, obviously the circumstances that created this organization, you wouldn't wish on anyone. It's a tragedy, and I wish that Judge Davis never had to go through that. But out of it has come something that has been meaningful to countless people. And so the other thing I thought was, well, is this sort of like, maybe is this mission creep for FAN? Is it like, is FAN going in a direction that maybe they shouldn't be going in? And the more I think about it, I think, no, first of all, that's not my call to make. And secondly, I think it's natural that FAN would be expanding its suite of services to help people who are in crisis. That's essentially what this organization was born to do, to help the most vulnerable people and educate people about this thing that's going on in society that most of us would say, well, look, I'm not a drug addict. Those are bad people. Those are losers, right? And the reality is it's every one of us. It's doctors, it's lawyers, it's school teachers, it's nurses, it's everybody. So you guys have done a phenomenal job educating the public on that aspect of it, delivering services in a unique and meaningful way, like the chief said, quick response team, et cetera. We have, the other thing I want to say too is, I understand Mr. Radke's concern, and I shared it a bit myself, like, why aren't we able to employ social workers in-house, and why aren't we able to make this work? And I think that really, this is a symptom of a bigger problem itself, which is that we have institutions like the police department and institutions like the fire department and institutions like hospitals. When you're sick, you go to a doctor. We all know that that's what you do. You go to a doctor, you get a prescription, you get medication, and maybe it's going to help. If you break the law, a police officer shows up, you get arrested, you go to jail, the court system deals with you. Fire department, there's an institution that follows very regimented steps to deal with an issue. But with mental health, it's all over the map. We have not yet created, I think, as a society, the perfect way of dealing with that, or even an adequate way of dealing with it. So the fact that we're going through this exercise and we tried something, didn't work, we're trying something else, maybe Mike's right, maybe it won't work, but guess what? We're gonna try something else, and I have a pretty good idea that you guys are gonna be part of the solution, whatever it is. And we'll keep trying at it until we get something, because even though we've all acknowledged that mental health is a major concern, we still lack adequate resources from the federal and state government. We lack an adequate infrastructure for dealing with these issues. So cities are left to deal with it themselves, and I would say probably most of them just are doing nothing. We're working on this. We're doing something meaningful and important, and I'm fully in support of this. And again, if it doesn't work, we're going to learn from what didn't work, and we're going to improve on it. And in the meantime, people are going to get help, and they are going to get services, and I hope that there is some failure that we can learn from and improve on. I certainly don't think that once we implement this, it's like, okay, we've solved mental health for the city of Sterling Heights, right? This is an ongoing process, and until we as a society, I think, prioritize this issue the way it deserves to be, then it might appear like it's just ad hoc. But I was in that meeting with you, Chief, when we said, yeah, we'll do quick response team. When do we start? How do we do it? And we were the first one in Macomb County to do it, and now a lot of departments are doing it. So hopefully this is the same thing, that we can show other communities, like, look, we've stumbled through some roadblocks, and we've figured out what works and what doesn't work. Learn from our mistakes. That's the point. So I'm fully in support of it. I have utmost confidence in FAN and the organization. I'm proud that we can partner with FAN. I think that the story of FAN over the last 10 or however many years it's been in existence is really remarkable. And please tell Linda I said thank you for her partnership and for all the work that she's doing for people that need it the most. So that's all I've got. So without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Congratulations. Look forward to working with you in this new expanded role. All right? Thank you, Chief, as always.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to reports, or I'm sorry, communications from citizens. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Ms. Nayez?
Mayor and Council, Yvonne Nyes once again. Speaking about the millage proposal. Today it's trees and Rotary Park. How many old growth trees are the taxpayers going to be paying to have removed from Rotary Park in order to install all the lovely new amenities? And if you move that park just a few feet east, it's not even in Sterling Heights, so who's actually going to be using this? Now, after we pay to remove these trees, we'll be paying good money to plant new trees that'll take decades to reach maturity, that these trees that we're removing. Now, I kind of call that double dipping. And at the millage meeting last week, the city attorney indicated that these green space purchases will have deed restrictions, so they won't be able to be sold to be used for other purposes. So I'm doing some research, and of course, Google doesn't always have the answers, but it seemed it led to me to about 5 different areas that said, yes, that if whoever puts the deed restriction on changes their mind, they can take the deed restriction off, discharge it, and refile the deed, and then the property can be sold to be built on. So what guarantee do we have that green space is going to stay green space? Also, green space doesn't have to be developed. You don't need to have trails, you don't need to have benches. Sometimes it's just nice to have something green to look at as you're walking past, driving past, bicycling past. And once again, I'm going to say that the Washington-style bundling presumably gives something to everyone. But if you disagree with even one initiative on this millage proposed, I suggest that you vote no, because you'd be amazed at what the city can find money for in the regular budget process if they really put their mind to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nyes. Mr. Smith?
Good evening, Paul Smith, Sterling Heights resident, owner, taxpayer, et cetera, since 1977. A mill is $1 million taxation extracted for every billion of tax base. So if the tax base is $8 billion, an additional mill would extract $8 million worth of blood from the productive economy and feed it to the parasites of government. Why? If you're a tax-hungry force of big government, you would play out the winning streak. Who wouldn't? Keep jacking up taxes and make up new ones until the people rebel. And they haven't rebelled yet. 1.9 mils as an emergency fix to the correction in inflated housing prices. 2.5 mils increase for police, fire, and street repair. A mill to tear down the rec center and build a bigger one, along with a concert stage to put on weekly Woodstocks free to any outsiders that want to come. Renewal the 2.5 mil safe streets. Another 1 mil just because we can. And now a new 1 mil Trojan horse. The ornamental horse, crafted to get into the city, is a free bag of chump change frills that nobody really wants. It includes things that were promised in the 20-year park millage. The nature preserve is exactly what the name says. Nobody wants to make it into an amusement park. The Army, hidden inside the horse, is the multi-million-dollar slush fund to buy useless scraps of land from the government's favorite landlords, speculators, and developers. Not one parcel of buildable land will be bought, but rather the scraps of swamp will be bought at inflated prices and become permanent burdens on we the people. The prototype of this is Speedway Park, the little triangle at Van Dyke and Utica. The city dumped huge money into an abandoned gas station and put in a park bench at a noisy, dusty intersection. Nobody in the history of time has sat on that bench. This is nothing to brag about, but with $8 million per year, the government's inside cronies will be able to dump scraps like this on us all the time. Here's a hint, and I don't even want to get a commission. If you want to pass something, propose to buy the Carpathian Club and put in an outdoor Olympic swimming pool. That's what the people always ask for, but you give them bocce, pickleball, a splash pad, and food trucks. The $95 per taxpayer is yet another fraud. There's no such taxpayer. Some people think they're non-taxpayers because they pay through a bank or a landlord, but actual property owners will be hit with $300, $400, $500, or even more. And the major developers will demand and probably get relief from this tax. Vote no on the latest tax grab and vote out all those who support it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Right, we'll move on to reports from city administration. Anything tonight, Mr. Vanderpool?
Mayor, just quickly a follow-up to a couple of residents. First, with respect to the Rotary Park proposal under the millage, that would include acquiring property to the west of the property, which, if you look at it now, is an unsightly area that is mostly tired-looking and anything but inviting. So the point is, though, whenever we pursue a public project of any sort, whether it's a roadway, a park, or open space, if you just look at our roadways, for example, we plant many more trees when the roadway is complete than when we started the road project. Same thing with park developments. We plant many more trees than any trees we have to remove. That's been a long-standing practice in the city, and the results simply speak for itself. I don't think there's, well, I do want to comment on one other statement by a resident that just spoke. The nature preserve area in the northwest quadrant of the city, 85 acres, was purchased with a grant from the state of Michigan Department of Natural Resources in the amount of $675,000. As part of that grant, it specifically states that the park, that the property will be used for passive recreational purposes, including but not limited to hiking, fishing, pathways, and the like. It's specifically in the grant agreement that was approved by the city. And in fact, we built a parking lot and a restroom, hoping one day we would be able to provide that access that's stipulated in the grant agreement. So I just wanted to make that clarification. And just finally, even with the millage proposal, if the voters chose to pass it, the city tax revenue per resident would still be among the lowest of our comparable cities in the state, including Southfield, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Lansing, Dearborn, Warren, Farmington Hills, Troy, Livonia. Sterling Heights is at the bottom of the list in terms of tax revenue per resident collected. In terms of our full-time employees, we're still at the bottom of the list. In terms of tax rates throughout the county, we're still the lowest in the county of a full-service city. In terms of the state, we're in the bottom half in terms of tax rate. So in terms of being an affordable community and a low-tax community, Sterling Heights still leads the way in that respect. So I just want to make those clarifications. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Koszybski?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 items for closed session tonight.
Okay, council reports, new business.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Justin, I appreciate the city manager commenting on that. I just wanted to briefly comment on some of the citizens' comment. I think that the residents at home can understand what a benefit, in my opinion, the pathways to plan preservation millage is. But listen to the people who come up here and speak about it, who aren't even here anymore. They wanted to speak to the residents at home. They say that they would have voted against recreating recreation. And we all see, or they did vote against recreating recreation, and we all see what a benefit that has been to our city. They would have voted against safe streets. Now I want you to vote against this. It's coming from the same place. So it's very simple. Our city is moving forward. We are building a first-class city. It's an amazing accomplishment, especially since we have the lowest full-service city tax rate in Macomb County and one of the lowest in the state. I hope the residents support the millage. I'm going to vote for it myself, and I think it's insane to trust in people up here who can't seem to think that the millage would raise 6 million instead of 8 million. The factual inaccuracies that are spoken at the podium every day kind of bewilder me. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Mrs. Sarowski?
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. So just very briefly, because I know we've got some stuff to do. So I learned some things, I think all of council learned some things when we had our presentation about FAN tonight, that we never knew, that they do many other things besides, and have had to be fluid and do many other things besides just help get recovery services for those in addiction, and current in addiction, and to continue to stay free of substance use. And that's something that can, and Chief Dwoszkowski was very clear in stating it has been free to everyone who has used their services. 100% free. The quick response team and all of their peer recovery coaches and all of the times they have come to all of our residents, not just here, but in every city now that they're in, their services are 100% free to anyone that uses them. But they're not free in the sense that they do cost money. And so as you heard, they're doing their fundraiser tonight. And I looked up very quickly while I'm sitting here, how, not only because of their major fundraiser, but how else we can help them. And so if you ever want to help FAN in any way, you can certainly donate your time, but if you want to donate money, you just do the quick little online search, and it's FAN Macomb County, FAN Macomb County, and right at the top, right-hand corner, it says donate. And you can donate your time as well. But this gives you a very easy and very, very user-friendly way, after you see all the things that they do on this page, to donate if you want to. So please, I'm just asking you if there's anything you ever want to do to help somebody. Easy to do, right through this page. Consider doing it. And that's all I have, Mayor Taylor.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. Anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Ms. Riska, can we have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Sarowski?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Brianna's?
Yes.
Miracle?
Yes.
Kowski?
Yes.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 7-0. We will adjourn into closed session. We will not be returning tonight, so that is it for us. Thank you for attending. Congratulations to the 7 new firefighters and the Beautification Award winners. Have a great night. Go Lions and go Tigers.
Go Tigers, go Lions.